Retirement fights, BMF title on the line, a whole lot of implications for UFC 318, Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway, right in front of us coming up this Saturday. So many emotions, so many things to talk about. We got CJ Sharp here with us. CJ, just kind of walk me through the mindset coming into fight week.
This is an exciting one, man. My boy's at the top of the bill, so I am amped up for this. I've been amped up for this. This couldn't get here soon enough. And even these next 3 days, we're recording this on a Tuesday, right? So the next 3 days are going to be complete agony until we get to that final fight day. But I'm amped.
How can you not be excited? The emotions of being excited, nervous, anxious, whatever adjective you want to use, it applies to UFC 318. And so we're gonna do things a little bit different. We're going to do things a little bit different today. So we want to implicate sharp picks within the first segment. So we're going to talk about the fight, Siege, and then let's go ahead and give our picks and go fight by fight in the main card. That way, I know people were getting anxious that we're waiting to the end. Now we're going to put it on the front end. So let's go one by one in the main card, kind of give a breakdown, and then give your picks, and we'll talk about it, and we'll keep moving on from fights there until the main event. But see, this first fight is pretty exciting. This card has kind of gotten a lot of rustle with not being a great card. And no, it's not star-studded, but I don't know. I'm not too upset about this card. It doesn't have that big names again, but it's got some fun bouts on it.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Definitely. And we have our boy Michael Johnson heading this whole thing up. And that alone was kind of exciting to me, man, to see him. I could be wrong, but I feel like wasn't he kind of on the prelims for a while there? He had, a string of losses. And they kind of knocked him down a few pegs, but now he's back on the main card, even if he's at the bottom. And, that alone is pretty exciting because he's always been a fun fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of that, before we even get into the Michael Johnson and Daniel Zellhuber fight, it's, Michael Johnson hasn't been on a pay-per-view card since Conor McGregor and Eddie Alvarez.
Wow. And I believe it because I had to go back and check because for a second there, for some reason, I thought he'd retired. So I had to go back and do a little research. I was like, where has he been? Because I know the name, I know the guy. Yeah, from early in his career, pretty sure he was a part of one of the Ultimate Fighter seasons. I could be wrong there, but I feel like he was a part of one of the early Ultimate Fighters. And specifically, I remember him welcoming Justin Gaethje into the UFC. So if you didn't really know him before, even though he didn't pull that one out, you definitely knew him after that. So I was, I had to go back and check. I was like, has he been gone for a while? Because I saw the last win and I was like, oh shit, there's Michael Johnson. Where the hell's he been? And I guess, I just been missing him. He's just been flying low.
So he was part of the Ultimate Fighter. It was Ultimate Fighter 12. So he's been in the game a while, but it's just crazy to me that he hasn't been on the pay-per-view since UFC 205. Now we're at UFC 318. He fought Khabib Nurmagomedov. I don't know if you've ever heard of that name. He fought him on that pay-per-view card.
Yeah.
So, it's hit or miss, right? So, let's get into this first bout, the opener for main card, right? You have Michael Johnson sitting at the plus 275 underdog, taking on Daniel Golden Boy Zellhuber. And we've seen him a couple of times. Saw him at UFC 306 last time on that O'Malley card when he took on Ribovic. But kind of walk me through the first things you think of when you see this opener.
So, as far as the whole Daniel thing, I'm going to throw that back at you because I'm not overly familiar with Daniel Zellhuber. I know my guy, Michael Johnson. He's an older fella. I got to stick with my older fellas around here. But I don't really know much about Daniel. Tell me about him.
He's a really slick boxer. When you talk about just a straight up pure boxer in the UFC, that's where you find Golden Boy. There's not a whole lot of wasted movement. Everything is in tight. And I think the best example of that was his last bout against Ribovic, right? Everything was in tight. It was very clean, really good boxing. Didn't throw all that much kicks, but the striking looks so pure. He kind of reminds me of Michael Johnson with the hands, but it's just straight boxer. Very cookie cutter, very clean look.
So we definitely have a striking match coming up here in front of us then.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at, and he's gotten some submissions to his name as well. He currently sits at 15-2 overall in his MMA career. He has 7 knockouts, has never been knocked out. So 7-0 in the knockout department, and is also 3-0 in the submission department. So never been submitted, either hasn't been finished. But more likely it's going to be a great striking match. And like you said, I'll let you touch on Michael Johnson a little bit, but for Golden Boy, it's going to be a lot of striking.
Okay. And so how many fights in is he now? Because I don't know how
So
I've been missing this guy.
so he's 4-2 in the UFC, but
So
overall
he's
he's
been around
15.
for a little bit.
He's been around for a little bit.
Okay.
This will be his first major challenge, though. When you look at his resume so far, Ribovic was his kind of his biggest, most notable fight, but he also took
Okay.
the L in that one. Came up short. It was a split decision. It was a war, though. It was a war. If you go back and watch that fight was an absolute war. He also fought Francisco Prado. He got the win there, and then fight before was Christian Giagos, and he got the submission there. So he's on. He got his last bout was a loss, but he had 2 wins before then. But yeah, his 7th bout in the UFC. Kind of been there, but kind of been flying under the radar. A lot of prelims and fighting younger guys. So this is his first really big test in the
Okay.
UFC.
Okay. And that's what I was going to say too. Because I mean, if nothing else, you got to talk about Michael Johnson's, statehood, how long he's been in here. He's a veteran in the UFC now. I mean, I was going back and I mean, golly, we're going back to, I'm at 2010s around here. Yeah. But yeah, he's been around for a good long minute now, had some good fights and he's fought, if you look at the names he's fought Dustin Poirier, he's fought Nate Diaz, he's fought Daniil, Edson Barboza when, that guy was killing it. So he's fought the who's who, but it's just more recently, he's had some tough fights, and so that obviously you lose a few and you just kind of keep getting bumped down. So it's kind of exciting to see a 39-year-old guy make his way back up. He's not at the top of the bill or anything yet, but just to make it back onto the main card and like to your point, a pay-per-view card, that's pretty exciting. That alone kind of gets me excited for this fight.
Absolutely, and you're talking about those names, but he got wins over that. I mean, he's gotten a win over Dustin Poirier, beat Tony Ferguson,
Yeah.
beat Edson Barbosa, and then he had a couple big names where he did just fall short. Guys like Diego
Yeah.
Ferreira, Josh Emmett, Gaethje. He got submitted by Habib, so he's again, like you said, he's fought,
Yeah.
he's been there, done that. So, but again,
And
he's kind of done
legends too.
contact
Clay
cards.
Guida. I mean, yeah, he's got
Right?
some legends in there. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely does. And again, he's fought the who's who, and again, he's been on a lot of fight night cards, so he's kind of been like, I don't want to say a gatekeeper because he's kind of been lower, but he's kind of been, you got to kind of get through
Yeah.
Michael Johnson to fight the top of the people in the division, right? You look at Michael Johnson, he's not at the top of the division, but again, you have to prove yourself to kind of get through him. And again, his
Yeah.
first fight was back in 2010, like you said. So it's going to take a lot to get past Michael Johnson. Again, he's 39 years old, so he's a little bit
Yeah.
older, but if you look at his last fight against Ottoman
Pretty good.
Izaitar,
Yeah.
his hands looked great. He looked really fast, great striking, and so I was like, whoa, like he still got it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And Michael Johnson's not an easy night out for anybody.
Absolutely. He
He's
was able
going to
to,
give you a hell of a fight. Whether he's at the top or he's in the prelims or he's on a fight night card. He's fought the who's who. He's got the experience and he can weather those storms. So I'm pretty excited about this one.
it's going to be really good. So again, he got the knockout as a 39-year-old, got a knockout
Yeah.
just in his last fight. So he
I
still
bet
got
that's got to feel good. Hell yeah.
got the flash hands, a really fun knockout. But now let's make our pick, Siege. So you kind of hinted at it a little bit, but you've pulled tricks on me before. And again, we're keeping score at this, and we'll tally it up here in a little bit. So if you guys are keeping track, these count for something. We'll see who wins at the end of the year. So CJ, walk me through it. Who wins this bout?
Call it just complete ignorance, but I'm going with Michael Johnson. Fair enough. I'm not overly familiar with Daniel, but I'm sticking with the vet on this one. I'm sticking to my guns.
I love it. I think Johnson could get it done. He's definitely a guy who has been there, done that. I'm going the Golden Boy here. I'm going the Golden Boy. We're going to have different ones here. You also look at the reach. The reach is something that, especially in a striking bout, could be a huge advantage. The reach advantage for Zellhuber, he's got a 77-inch reach to 73.5 for Michael Johnson. And again, it's a pure boxer. I mean, it was absolute war in his last fight. And so, again, I see it going the same way, and I think it's going to be an all-out war, but I'm going to give it a little bit to the youth, a 26-year-old in his prime. He needs a big win here. This will kind of put his stamp on his name. So I'm going Golden Boy here. We're going to differ on the first one, which we don't always do that. We don't always do that. We kind of have similar picks. It's
that's usually an easier pick, yeah.
It's kind of no fun a little bit. So I'm glad we kind of differ here a little bit. But Now we got another banger. This one at the 145, the featherweight
Yes,
division.
sir.
This one's going to be fun. I know you're going to have a strong opinion on this one. We got Patricio Pitbull, the plus 140 favorite, taking on the legend Dan Ige, the minus 166 favorite here. Very close odds. Siege, kind of walk me through your thought process here.
Which I'm surprised by that. I mean, I know, Pitbull's first fight out didn't look great, but I don't feel, I mean, I've followed Pitbull from afar when he was over with Bellator. And so I know what he brings to the table. So I was pretty shocked at him coming out, but that's not unusual for guys coming over to the UFC for the first time. Not a whole lot of them do rise to the occasion. I don't think that's really a stain on what Pitbull brings to the table, or I don't even want to say experience because he's got that in space. He has tons of experience. But a lot of guys always talk about the level of competition at other organizations. I don't think that's what we saw here. I think he got a little hesitant. He's brand new promotion. He's on the big stage, the biggest stage. I think that's what we saw. I think he shook that off. Now he got the first one out of the way. Wasn't great. I think his second fight, I think he shows up and he shows out.
I can see it. I love Patricio Pitbull. Again, yeah, he's a guy who, I mean, heavily decorated, right? 3-time Bellator featherweight champ. Also was the lightweight champ over there. But in his battle was against Yair Rodriguez. There's not many people that can just go in there.
Yeah, that's not a great warm up for
Yair
anybody.
Rodriguez.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I
is
mean,
not a great warm up for anybody. That's insane. But I loved it. That's what I wanted to see, right? I didn't want to see him get a softball or anything. I wanted a real contender and to see what he could do. I think and even with that fight, I think if we were to run that back now and do that back to back, I think that would look a lot different. I just don't feel like it looked very competitive. Yair came out and did what he did. He looked great. I don't think that was classic Pitbull in that fight.
yeah, absolutely. And again, he's gotten wins over Michael Chandler. He's beat Benson Henderson. For all my
Yeah,
UFC guys who
yeah.
have a little bit of date to them. I mean,
Uh-huh.
two big wins, but Dan Ige is no slouch either. Been in the UFC since 2017. Again, a guy who just fought for. I mean, he's fought the top guys, right? You look at his last couple fights. A little bit of a stretch there. He fought Sean Woodson, got a win there, and a controversial win. Leron Murphy. That when we talked about that one. I had Dan Ige winning that fight. I thought he was gonna take
Yeah.
away, give Murphy his first loss, but he came up short there. Almost got it. He had a couple takedowns early, and then lost to Diego Lopez as well. So Dan Ige's fought the who's who. And Siege, I want to hear your opinion on this. I feel like either way, either one you look at it, either Dan Ige or Patricio Pitbull, I feel like they're kind of fighting themselves. Like they look kind of similar. They're short. They kind of compact striking. I mean, they're both. I mean, I don't know. I feel like they're
Yeah.
very similar in their stature and the way they fight.
And well rounded. They're no slouches on the ground. They have no problem standing and banging. I mean, they're pretty well rounded everywhere. If resumes mean anything, and I know Dan has been over here in the UFC with us for a while, if resumes mean anything, Pitbull should be able to pull this out. I mean, he's always fought at a championship level, and whether it was ex-UFC champions or guys that came over and, did something big over here, he's held his own for quite a while now. Now, nothing against Dan, but I think this should be a step up in competition for Dan. I think a win over Patricio, even with a loss in the UFC, I think does wonders for him.
Yeah, I agree. And so there's your pick there. You threw out your pick, and I'm,
I
I'm
can't
gonna
help it, man. I kind of lead with that, but yeah.
I'm gonna go the same direction there. We're both gonna go with the underdog Patricio
Okay.
Pitbull. I like Dan Ige, and again, like you said, they're both well rounded, right? You look at Pitbull, he has 13 knockouts, been finished twice via the knockout, as well as going 11-1 on the ground for Patricio Pitbull in the submission. Then you look at Dan Ige, he has 7 knockouts, 5 submission victories, never been finished though. You have to thought it never been finished. You thought all the
True.
names he's fought, including Andre Touchy-Feely, Bryce Mitchell, and Movzar, never been finished. So if Pitbull can somehow go out and make a stamp and somehow put away Dan Ige, which no one before him has done, I mean, wow, what a way to put a stamp on, especially
For
after,
sure.
again, like a little bit of a lackluster opening fight, but again, has a great opportunity there. So we're both going to go the underdog there. I'm, I'm,
Okay.
I'm, I know you like Dan Ige, so I didn't know if you're going to go that route, but you go with Patricio Pitbull there.
Yeah.
Again, It's gonna be
Going
a
my gut
banger.
on this one.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be a banger. I'm really excited about it. Now we have our hometown boy. I feel like we have talked about him more than anybody in the sport, and that's because for a reason. He's averaging one fight every 95 days.
Yeah.
He has
The
four
dude's
fights
always
in
on the card.
2025. Kevin Holland continues to fight. Kevin Holland, the minus 475 favorite, taking on Daniel D-Rod Rodriguez. CJ, talk me through it.
So just going on feelings off of this one. Up until now, I feel like every time we've talked about Kevin Holland, it's always been the hometown boy. That's my guy. But I think we touched on this a little last time, his last outing, which was his interviews that he's been doing going on, and he said something that really, really stuck with me. And I'm trying not to hold it against him too much, but every time he comes up, the first thing that comes to mind is this guy saying, I don't really care about being a champion. And that just bugs the hell out of me. And it also bums me out. Even if you want to doubt him or you don't think he could pull it off, it's like, why do we get behind these guys? Like nobody wants just whether it's football, basketball, whatever it is, you're not getting behind a team and saying that's my team. And they're like, oh, we don't care if we win the Super Bowl. We don't care if we win the World Series. It's just, we're just here to play, like, what are you here for? You're just here to get a check. I can't, it's so hard to throw your support behind someone like that. And I mean, fuck, it's not like we have a ton of fighters coming out of Fort Worth. So, I want to be with Kevin Holland. I just wish he hadn't made that one comment. And it just really stuck out to me because every time he's doing an interview, I'm following, I'm watching. It's Kevin Holland, it's this and that. But that just really bummed me out, man. So I'm trying to put that aside for this one. Regardless, Kevin Holland's going to be in a fun fight. Him saying that he doesn't really care about getting the belt. Maybe that's a little bit of self-preservation, right? Because he's had some tough losses when he's been kind of thrown in there in the lion's den, so to speak, with some guys that maybe he shouldn't have been fighting in the first place. Maybe that's fair enough. But again, like you said, he's fighting so often. We love him. So, they put him up against guys like MVP and, um, what's our guy that's, Hamzat, he probably had no business being in there with those guys. And so that really made him look crazy. So I'm sure that had to hurt his ego a little bit. So maybe just came back and said, well, I don't really care about being a champion. I just didn't like it. I didn't like the attitude. If we put that aside, Kevin Holland's a fun fight. He always puts on a good show. And I feel like a Daniel Rodriguez is more his level. Not, and I don't mean that to sound negative anyway. It's not because I think Kevin Holland sucks or, D-Rod isn't all that great because I think he's doing some fun things. I like watching D-Rod fight. I just think maybe this is closer to his level of competition and probably where he should be. I was, I mean, tell me what you think about this, and maybe it's just because Kevin Holland's a name, but were you surprised at his placement on this card?
A little bit, a little bit. Just I don't know if it's because of the name. Do you think he should be lower?
I kind of thought so, but then I guess who do you put him beneath? Because you can't put Michael Johnson on top of that because it's still Kevin Holland and it's still Daniel Rodriguez, and they're both doing things in this, they're both doing this things in their weight division, but I don't know. Can you put Patricio a little bit higher in Dan Ige? Does it even really matter? Maybe it doesn't, and they're on the main card, so, but I've always kind of paid attention to those things, and when I saw that one, I was like, I wonder how I felt about Kevin Holland. Now he did win his last two out, right? I know he definitely won his last one, but he won his last two out. And so maybe that's why, he's still kind of in, the big boss's good graces. So they're still propping him up there a little bit. And maybe it's just because of the strength of the card. Maybe there's not bigger names. So if it's just on brand recognition and name recognition, maybe that's why he ended up where he did.
But yeah, he did get submitted by the Ritter at middleweight, and that's what made him go back to welterweight. And then back-to-back victories. But I think you hit on the nail. I think that we were talking hyping it up a little bit before, but yeah, there is no star power on this card, and yeah, so
for the average Joe though, because you'd agree it's still a good card. I think it's a great card, but yeah, the average viewer might not really, they won't know the guys lower down.
So if they're great bouts, but yeah, like they're missing the star power. So that's why number 14 in the division, Kevin Holland, fighting an unranked Daniel Rodriguez.
Yeah.
It's still, I mean, right before the co-main. So
yeah.
so you covered Kevin Holland a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about Daniel Rodriguez. right? I mean, he's an 38-year-old, backs against the wall, in my opinion. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong after I say this, but I think if he loses, what more do we need to see from Daniel Rodriguez? That might be the end for him. And because he just came off 3 straight losses, and now he's finding the rhythm back, has now coming off 2 straight victories. So I think this is kind of the line in the sand for him. I think he's got to figure out what happens next if he loses, right? And so, again, not saying if he wins or loses, but I think his back's against the wall here. He's got to go for broke because, again, you're 38 years old. You had 3 straight losses, and then you're kind of feeling down about yourself. You get 2 big victories to get back on the right path, but what does a loss to Kevin Holland, who's ranked number 14, do for your career? I mean, there's not much more straight line to the title shot for Daniel Rodriguez. I think he has to get a victory here. He got a knockout against Ponzinibbio, which looks great. That was his first one since 2022. So his hands are still there. His hands are still there. So he shows that he belongs where he's at and getting another chance. But his back's against the wall, in my opinion. CJ, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And, I think this fight bodes well for him, because I feel like we've seen him struggle anytime there's any sort of grappling involved. His hands have always been great. There's never been any doubt about that. But I think where he struggled is when, there's any kind of grappling involved and things start getting a little hairy in that way. And even though we know that Kevin has a ground game, he's never one to force the issue. He's all good with the gentleman's agreement. Hey, we're going to stand here and kickbox all night. Okay, cool. We're going to do that. Even though it's not going to work well for his favor. We saw that with Wonder Boy. He has no problem trying to kickbox just to prove a point. If he was smarter, I would say, hey, we need to, D-Rod needs to watch out for this. But I think D-Rod stands there and throws, and I think Kevin's going to try to do the same thing. Which, not that he's not dangerous, and Kevin is really long. He fights long, and he's big for the division. So it's going to be a fun fight, but yeah, I feel like we're going to get a striking match here, which I'm not complaining about.
I mean, I'll never turn out a great striking match, Steve. So kind of preluded a little bit, but tell me, what is your pick for Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez?
I'm on the fence. I've been on the fence. Even when we started at the beginning of this card, I was like, if I'm putting my emotions aside and, putting the whole home team thing aside, my gut's telling me D-Rod. And again, I'm trying not to let that interview sway me at all, but I feel like D-Rod's not out here just to cash a check. He's not out here just to get another fight. I think he's going for gold, or that's at least the attempt, Whereas Kevin Holland, I feel like Kevin Holland just loves to fight. And he's kind of said as much, he's here to fight, win or lose. He just loves to fight. So that's what he's here for. Not that he won't bring it, but I think D-Rod has a little more fire in him. So I'm going with D-Rod on this one.
I love it. I'm going to differ with these, but I like the answer. I like D-Rod in this one too, but I'm going Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland because there's a few things that I would have liked to see more from Daniel Rodriguez in this stylistic matchup. He doesn't throw a lot of kicks, right? And you see with someone who moves as well as Kevin Holland, he's going to talk. He throws a lot of great kicks. I don't see D-Rod throwing too many kicks that often. I think that may be a down for him. I see the reach. Again, I talked about reach, but this one's even bigger. For Daniel Rodriguez, it's only 74. For Kevin Holland, you kind of mentioned that. He fights long. He has an 81-inch reach, so it is no joke. So, I mean, I think that plays a huge factor, especially in striking. And like I said, even if Kevin Holland does try to incorporate the ground game, D-Rod's takedown defense in itself is pretty good. It's for a striker, it's 63% defense takedown accuracy. So he's got a pretty solid takedown defense, but once he gets to the ground, that's when, like you said, it gets a little bit of trouble. But
starts to unravel. We've
talked about it though. Jiu-jitsu guys aren't naturally just having great takedowns, right? They're good once they're on the ground, but it's not like wrestling or sambo or anything like that where they're good at creating those opportunities in MMA. So it's tough, but I think Kevin Holland does, and I think he gets it done by striking.
Okay.
So
we'll have to see. We'll have to see how this plays out.
So we're differing on a few more there. Usually it's only one, maybe one.
Yeah.
The fight, it's kind of boring, but we got some different one here, CJ. I like that D-Rod shout. That's a good one. It's a little bit bigger of an underdog for you, but let's move into this co-main. I'm pretty excited about this co-main event. And I know a lot of people were talking about it, whatever, whatnot, but Paulo Costa is legit, and he's fighting Roman Kopylov, who's, oh my gosh, he's dangerous. This is going to be a really, really fun bout that people are overlooking.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. This is a fun one. And Paulo Costa is another one he's had some up and downs. When he was coming up, he's looking like a juggernaut, man. He was looking just completely indestructible. And there's still a little bit of that. You see little, flashes of it here and there, but he's definitely looked a lot more susceptible than we thought he would have been in the past. I think he's got a lot to prove here, man. I think and it's going to be a good one. And not only that, but being slotted in at the co-main event, I'm sure that adds to the pressure for him.
Absolutely. And I think he's kind of in another situation where his back's against the wall too. And yeah, he's only 34 years old, but you've lost 4 of your last 5, and your one win is against Luke Rockhold. I mean,
That guy's everybody's punching bag at this point.
yeah, it's just not Luke Rockhold's prime now. So, man, you need
Yeah.
to win. And if you can get someone who's young, or I mean, I say young, but he's in his mid-30s too, and Kopylov, but still a guy who is not Luke Rockhold, right? So Kopylov still is making his run for the title, and again, opening odds -245 for Kopylov, +200 for Costa. So they're pretty close, but a little bit more of a favorite towards Kopylov. So kind of walk me through stylistically, Siege, what you're kind of seeing in this matchup.
So I'm throwing that right back at you because for Kopylov, I'm not overly familiar with Kopylov either. And I was
So,
trying to get brushed up on him, but I'm like, yeah, this dude he's someone that just hasn't caught my attention for some reason.
man, he's fun to watch. He's fun to watch. I mean, I could rewatch him in that Chris Curtis fight forever, right? Which is good and bad, right? Chris Curtis is, in my opinion, not in the top of the division, but that was a really good back and forth striking battle, a straight up war, and they're kind of different, right? I mean, you look at Costa, man, he's huge, built, filled out. He looks a little bit smaller in the division, but his striking looks so good. I love his boxing. He throws a lot of hard low kicks. Oh my goodness. So southpaw, stands in the southpaw, and he loves to work leg kicks, where it's calf or at the thigh, hamstring area. I mean, he is going to do heavy kicks on Costa's lower body. So, I mean, I think it's a really fun matchup. Again, he lost his first 2 bouts in the UFC and then won on a little bit of a run and had more success. I think he's fun. He's got a sambo-based style in his MMA. I really like him. I think it's gonna be a really good matchup. But you look at Costa too, man. Costa's striking so good. His front kicks, his leg work too. For how big he is, I don't know how he doesn't get tired or gas out. You see guys who are all big and muscled out. They kind of, they're fun early, but they fade quickly, right? And you saw that in time and time again, especially that Sean Strickland bout, where his conditioning is unbelievable, especially for a guy at that size.
Yeah, man. It's just that fine wine in the summertime. That's all that is. I'm about to get on board with that too and get my stamina up.
I mean, whatever's in the water that he's drinking, or whatever his little juice that he has, whatever it has, it's working. It's working. So you got to give him credit for that, whatever is in the water that he's drinking, or his little strong juice or whatever it's called.
Yep.
But really fun matchup here. Really, really fun matchup. Again, Costa's the +200, the eraser. He's 14-4, 6-4 in the UFC. And again, like you said, it was just unstoppable, and they get stopped by Izzy, and then it was like all of a sudden, like, oh, the narrative changed. Like, oh, he can't find a way to get a win.
Yeah.
For Kopylov, he's kind of in the same boat where opposite. So he needs a win badly, but his first 2 fights were losses, and then got on a win streak. So kind of 2 guys who need a win badly, both 34 years old, trying to remain relevant in the division. CJ, who stays relevant after UFC 318?
I'm going to go the other way with this just because I don't know if I'm going to see a whole lot else or a whole lot different out of Costa this time around. And we went into this talking about this fight saying that I wasn't overly familiar, but I'm going to trust your instinct on this, or what I think your instinct is on this. I'm going to go with Kopylov on this only because I don't really have a whole lot of faith in Costa at this point.
That's kind of the way I'm going. That's kind of the way I'm going. So I'm going to go the same direction. I think Costa loses this one, but it's weird because I just don't know how, right? I don't know if it's going to be decision. I don't know which way it's going to go. And Costa's kind of a decision merchant, right? We kind of throw that title around when we see fit. And that's exactly what I see here. You look at Costa's last bouts. It's been decision all the way until that Adesanya fight way back when. It's been decision, decision,
Yeah.
decision, win or loss. It's been decision. So, but again, it's because he doesn't tire out. He doesn't knock anybody out, but he doesn't get knocked out. I don't see Kopylov knocking him out again. He's only got TKO'd once. It's by Adesanya. 11-0 otherwise. 1-0 in the submission rank, so that's not really much of a thing there. Kopylov's 0-2 in the submission, so I don't see him going to the ground. It's going to be a striking bout, and I see it going to decision. But I think Costa takes the L there. So we're gonna agree on that one, and that one it's gonna go to decision. I don't see Costa getting put away, and I don't see Costa putting away Kopylov. So I'm gonna go decision there. But again, I'm gonna agree with you there. We're on the same pick, Siege. And now, Siege, we go into the oh my gosh, I mean the storyline, BMF retirement. First fight for Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier. The last fight for Dustin Poirier is Max Holloway. Both fighters are 22-8 in the UFC. Their storylines write themselves. CJ, I mean, make some sense of this.
Yeah, man. Not to mention we're taking it back to Louisiana now. And we talked about this or threw around the idea a little bit of trying to make it out there for this fight. That didn't work out, unfortunately, because if there's a fight to get to and be in the stands for, it's going to be this fight here. It's, yeah, we love everybody else on this card, but you could do away with the entire card and I would tune in just for this fight. This is, it's Max Holloway. If anybody's been following Sharp's picks in our segments here, Max is my guy. I don't care if it's Max against John Jones. I don't care if it's Max against an alligator. Max is my guy and I'm going to tune in every single time. And and, I hate saying that because I love Dustin Poirier. Dustin up against just about anybody else, love Dustin Poirier. And it's going to be an emotional one, man. This is going to be an emotional roller coaster. It's the last fight. Dustin's done so much for the fans over the years, giving us fight after fight, amazing performance one after the other, and you couldn't ask for a better BMF matchup, man. This is the one. This is the one for sure.
I feel like this is one of those memes where it's like girls cry here, boys cry here, men cry here. It's like one of those situations, man. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like if you've been a fan of the UFC, getting choked just thinking about
it. I feel you.
Need some water. But no, this is the fight that perfect. It's a perfect ride into the last fight for Dustin Poirier. It's kind of an interesting one though. I don't know what I want to happen because on one end, I don't want Dustin to lose in his final retirement fight, right? He deserves to win. He deserves to go out on his sword, right? But then, again, I want your without personal for Max Holloway. So on one hand, I don't want Dustin Poirier to lose because this is his retirement fight. He deserves to go out on a win. But for Max Holloway, he's the future of the sport. He's the one who's going to go back and actually continue to fight, right? So if he loses this bout, it's like, well, what's next for Holloway, right? What happens to him at 155? So it's kind of a tough matchup there as well. But, apart from your opinion about Max Holloway, which route should the casual UFC fan go?
Which round should they go?
Yeah, who do I go for? Because, again, I'm a big Dustin Poirier guy. I'm a big Max Holloway guy. But
I hear you. Yeah.
I don't even know which way to think because, again, my guy, Dustin Poirier, yes, I want him to win, but Holloway losing hurts the sport's future. But it's like, I don't know what I want. I can't decide.
Yeah, this is interesting all the way around, because the Poirier thing, and again, like you said, men cry here, right? It's an emotional thing watching, at least, for me, I'm, me over here being a big nerd. When Dustin loses, there's something about Dustin losing that it hits a soft spot, especially if you're a Dustin fan. He takes it to heart, and as fans, we do too, but you feel like you're in there with him. Like he just carries that with you, and he just passes it on. And so it really comes through. It's a tough one. I hear you with the Max thing too, because that's my guy. I mean, the last time, dude, I don't know if I've ever really gotten that emotional about a fight, and it's not like I haven't seen Max lose before, but I almost had to go in the closet and cry for a little bit on that one. That was a tough one out, and it's interesting the way this is working out because immediately after the Topuria fight, it kind of felt like a no-brainer. Even before the Topuria fight with Max, it kind of felt like him moving up to lightweight was the obvious next move. You know, he had those tough fights with Volkanovski. And as guys get older, they're all pretty much saying the same thing. Like, man, this cut weight sucks. And especially when he performed the way he did against Gaethje, anybody looking at that goes, yeah, this guy has to move up to lightweight. He looks amazing. He doesn't look undersized. He looks like a solid lightweight, a lot like Oliveira in that way, you know? It's like, how the f- is this guy making 145 when he's looking the way he does at 155? It's just interesting that he did go back down after that amazing performance, fight to Poirier, lose in the most tragic way anybody can lose, you know. And then, yeah, it's like, okay, immediately after that fight, we're saying, yeah, he needs to go back up to lightweight, but who's reigning over lightweight now? Now it's to Poirier again. I don't want to go through that again, man. You know, you saw what he just got done doing to Oliveira. I can't go through that again. That's too much of an emotional roller coaster. I might want to send Max back down to featherweight now and let him do his thing down there because this is bullshit. I can't let him keep wading in and out of these dangerous waters, man. This is insane. But to Poirier aside, I hear you. I love this fight, and I don't know what it does for Max's future. He's kind of unpredictable in that way, you know? Me saying that he doesn't like making weight at featherweight doesn't mean anything because I don't think I've heard that from any of his interviews. I don't know if I've heard him complain about making weight at 145. Have you?
So I actually have a little bit because he's no longer in the featherweight rankings. He's kind of said that he doesn't want to make that weight cut and he's going to stick to 155.
Okay,
I
well
was
then,
looking earlier today and he's not even in the rankings of 145 now. He's actually completely out of the rankings at 145.
huh, completely over my head then. I didn't realize that. Okay, so there is some credence to that. Uh, so yeah, I guess he's going to be hanging out there at 155. Like I said, I don't love it. Um, that doesn't mean I want to see him lose to Dustin and go anywhere. Yeah, man, this is a tough one, dude. I don't know which way I mean, I know which way I'm leaning, but I don't really know how much I really want to see either outcome. You know, I can't see him sending Poirier out of here the way he just got done with Gaethje, or not just got done, but you know, a couple fights back. It's like, I don't know. All you could hope for is just a war between these two warriors. And, you know, sometimes, you know, you have a guy lose, but you feel like they both came out winners, you know, and we said that about a bunch of Chandler fights, you know, even when he was losing, I was like, God, that was such a good fight. Like, you can't take anything away from him. Dustin just, he's put so much on the line. He's given so much to us. I just don't want to see him go out like that.
He definitely deserves better, right? And he's again when you talk about the guys who fought the who's who, I mean, what better? I mean, Q talk about the resume of these guys. So I mean, let's look at Poirier. He's fought Islam, uh, Justin Gaethje, Chandler, Oliveira, Conor McGregor 3 times, Dan Hooker, Habib Nurmagomedov, Max Holloway, Eddie Alvarez twice, Justin Gaethje again, Anthony Pettis, and the Korean Zombie. I mean, that resume is unbelievable how much he's given to the sport.
Legendary, man. Legendary. And it's a damn shame. I mean, he's touched gold in his own respect. You know, you can't ever take away from the interim champ, you know, so he has a belt to his name, but it's just crazy to fight those kind of guys and put on those kind of performances. And even the kind of performances he's put on from bouncing back. I mean, when you talk about the rebound king, he's fought some fights and you've seen him fall apart after, and you're like, man, is he ever going to be the same? And then he comes back and he puts a whooping on Saint Denis, you know, and guys like that. It's like, dude, he's just a dog, man. Like you can't not love Dustin Poirier, and you feel like what you see is what you get with a guy like Dustin, you know. Like you feel like if you were ever to walk up on him just outside or run into him on the street, like that's exactly who he is, and you can't not love a guy like that, man. And the same could be said for Max Holloway. You know, I would give anything to randomly run into Max Holloway, man. That's my dude, man. But he's just, he's a goofball. He's just one of those guys you never get the inkling that he's putting on a show or playing a character. He's being himself, you know? And I'm sure you've seen that footage now as everybody else has of that interview he did back when he was a teenager, you know, and he gave that interview with the local media there, and it was like, dude, this has been Max Holloway from day one, you know, like he's not the most polished guy on the mic. You know, he's not always saying the best things, but he's just speaking from the heart, man. And he's fighting that way too. And it's like, how can you not love that?
And so I don't even know if I have to ask CJ, but who do we have for this main event?
It's it's Max, man. Just Max, don't do him dirty like that, Max. Please, Max. Golly, don't put him out like that. And not that there's any reason to say that because he has two L's to Dustin already, you know?
Right?
But the fan in me has always said, I don't really count that second fight. I don't even count the first one. All right. He was young in the first one. The second one, he didn't have a full camp. All right. But this, I feel like a fully in tune Max filling out full camp. The only thing that I don't want to gloss over is the fact that his last time out was a devastating knockout. And I've always felt weary of guys coming back relatively quick. And I don't like that for Max. If there's anything that I'm holding against him, it's that. It was 7 months ago now. We were just talking about this the other day. Was it 8 months ago now? It feels too quick. You know, I felt like the only person that I could, from recent memory, I felt like did it the right way was Justin Gaethje. He had that terrifying knockout from Max and he took some legitimate time off and came back. And that felt like that's what you got to do. I don't know if I like Max back in the octagon in under a year against a guy like Dustin who's going to pour it on and not going to give you any breathing room and stay in your face. And yes, I'm going with Max, but I don't love it. I really don't.
It's super tough, Siege, and like I haven't even said an answer. I've gotten the question a million times where I'm on TikTok Live, YouTube Live, or just talking to anybody. I've never said of someone who I want to win. I want them both to win. This is the only fight where I just
Yeah.
sound like a complete loser. But if I have to go who I think's gonna win, I'm going Max Holloway, and I think it's gonna be
Really?
an all-out war. Again,
Oh,
my guy Dustin Poirier, I want to pick him so bad, but for some reason I see them going out in the brawl, and I see Poirier getting clipped. Right, not that's gonna be a head kick like he did to Gaethje, but that vision of him
yeah.
getting clipped, like and getting slept, it just rings in my head. Like the way Holloway, so it's like I have a mixture of like Holloway knocking out Gaethje and Gaethje knocking out Poirier in like my head, where instead of Gaethje, it's Poirier there. I have a really bad feeling. Holloway's a dog, man, and
No.
I just don't
Yeah.
know. But again, like you said, Holloway's come back from a really bad knockout, but I'm going Max Holloway if I had to put my money on it. I don't know who I want. I still don't know who I want, but if I had to put my money on it, again, the odds are super even. Minus 118 for Max Holloway to Dustin Poirier, minus 102. Super even. Vegas can't even decide. So how am I supposed to? So I'm going Max Holloway, though. But again, I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want to see. I don't know if I want to see it. But my
Yeah.
eyes are going to be glued to the TV. It's going to be a crazy night.
I'm genuinely shocked. I didn't see that coming. I thought you were going Poirier. I really, really thought you were going Poirier. And I couldn't argue with it because I'm conflicted. Again, if it wasn't for the fact that I'm obviously biased, I would have to give Dustin an honest, the honest nod. But yeah, man, I don't know what it is either. Like I said, I just don't want to see him go out in devastating fashion. I don't want to see that for him. But yeah, my heart's telling me Holloway too.
Yeah, and again, I think now. I mean, my whole heart is told me like I want Poirier to win. I want him to win. It's just gonna be so tough. It's gonna go either way. I like it. Weird enough to say, I might not ever say it's another situation, but I hope it goes to decision. I hope it's just a 5 round absolute war. Neither guy gets KO'd. Kind of puts away
Yeah.
their career because again, Poirier doesn't deserve that. Holloway's still gonna fight into the future. You
Yeah.
can't have him get knocked out. So and again, back to back knockouts for Holloway. We're having a whole different conversation. So it is a really tough task. So I think I'm gonna go want for the first time ever. If it could go my way, 5 round war. They point down the last 10 seconds. I mean, unbelievable strike. They're both hurt, both wobbled.
Yeah.
Dustin Poirier gets a win by decision, but I don't see it going that way. But that would be best case scenario for me.
And I'm not trying to persuade you one way or the other, but I'm shocked, especially given the second fight and the way he put it on Holloway pretty handedly. So like I said, I'm genuinely shocked to hear you go this way, but okay. Yeah, I like it, man. Come
Wait,
over
are
to the
you
dark
switching?
side,
Are you
bro.
switching over?
No, no,
Are you,
no, no,
are you
no,
switching
no,
over?
no, no. No, I'm not switching. No, hell no. No, but I'm just inviting you over to the dark side. Come on. It's all right. Come on.
Oh my gosh.
It's gonna be a
All
good
right.
card.
Well, see,
It's gonna be a
I love
great
it. I
card.
love it. And see, as always, Siege, I'm gonna give you a last word. Do we have anything you want to say about this card or about anything going on in the UFC world that you want to talk about before we hop off here?
No, man, just all aboard the Blessed Express. Let's go.
Let's go. Let me know what you guys think down below. CJ, thank you so much for joining me once again. We love talking UFC, guys. Next time we do it, we will be in person together doing it. We think that'll be a lot of fun and a little bit of a different aspect to it. So looking forward to
Yeah.
that. Let us know who you guys have down in the comments. Who do you guys have winning all the main card, or the main card picks were the same, or do we have different ones? Let us know about the main event as well. Thank you, CJ, for joining me again. We're going to talk some UFC, guys, for UFC 319. That one's coming up very soon, so we'll be back on here. Be sure to subscribe, drop a like, but again, drop a comment. Let us know what you guys think. This is Nico Sharp, CJ Sharp, hopping off here for UFC 318 Sharp segments. Let us know what you guys want to see next, and we'll see you guys after UFC 318.
Thanks, bro.